Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I'm Flash. Today I am ranking who I believe are the top 10 players you can start in the midfield in AFL SuperCoach for 2026. As with the last video, I will explain some of the pros and cons of these various players, as well as including graphics with the relevant statistics to help you make an informed decision on who you should start in your team. This is the second in a 5-part series of me ranking top 10 players of every position, so subscribe and click the bell icon if you don't want to miss it. And with that, let's get into the video. Firstly, I want to start off with some honourable mentions, players who are definitely startable but that don't make the top 10 on this list. This include Josh Dunkley, Andrew Brayshaw, Jordan Dawson, Ed Richards, Zach Merritt, and Max Holmes, all of whom present great upside but ultimately, in my opinion, just aren't as good as the 10 on this list. But who are the 10 on this list? In 10th, I've got Bailey Smith. The breakout player of SuperCoach last year, Bailey Smith has lost his DPP, but likely not his scoring, as he and Max Holmes continue to reinvent that Geelong midfield. His speedy midfield craft will surely attract the ball from his teammates and shower him in SuperCoach points. However, the inclusion of James Worpel into that already stacked midfield introduces another mouth to feed, and the inevitable use of taggers could harm his scoring. This and his high price tag of 638k prevent me from placing him any higher and leaving Baz at 10th. In 9th is Caleb Serong. 2025 really wasn't Caleb's year in terms of SuperCoach, while he is still a star of the competition and played a crucial role in Fremantle's finals push. Caleb failed to match the scoring consistency of his teammate and fellow midfielder Andrew Brayshaw, regularly failing to turn up and scoring under 85 5 times. However, that has led to his score underrepresenting his true potential, being priced at 571k after a season average easily 10 points a game under what we thought he would get at the start of the season and what I think he can get at the start of this season. The addition of Hayden Young into that midfield, given a good preseason, adds another player Serong can chain with, further increasing the bite of that freer midfield and helping his scoring. That's why I've placed him in 9th as a very solid option for M2 to M4 slots. One spot above him, in 8th, is the Gold Coast captain, Noah Anderson. The Gold Coast Suns had their best year in 2025, and so did Noah Anderson in terms of SuperCoach scoring, breaking into the 110s average. A tough, classy midfielder that can win the ball both on the inside and the outside, Anderson is now viewed as one of the best midfielders in the competition. While the addition of Christian Petrarca and the improvement of Bailey Humphrey have the potential to hamper Anderson's scoring, this will be offset by Anderson's natural progression, Bailey just starting to enter his prime at the age of 24. However, Anderson also has to compete with the likes of Rowell and Miller for points in that crowded midfield, leading me to place him in 8th as a very good M2 or M3 in your team. In 7th, I have Hugh McCluggage. Finally earning an All-Australian blazer in 2025, McCluggage is coming off a career best year, establishing himself as one of Brisbane's best players, and playing a crucial role in Brisbane's second successive grand final. I don't predict him stopping either, as he and Dunkley continue to command the Brisbane midfield as they look to complete the three-peat. However, that Brisbane midfield is the most crowded in the competition, with the likes of McCluggage, Dunkley, Neil, both Ashcroft brothers, Jared Berry, Zach Bailey, Cam Rayner, and now Dan Annable, all vying for a spot. While I believe Hugh McCluggage is at the top of that list, the crowded Brisbane midfield and his high price of 646k place him no higher than 7th on this list. Above him, in 6th, I have Finn Callaghan. After a breakout year last year, Finn Callaghan shows no signs of stopping as he looks to take control of that Giants midfield. A hard-running midfield ball, he's increased his SuperCoach average by a whopping 30 last year, and he looks to keep improving with the new addition of Clayton Oliver only improving the quality of ball he'll receive from stoppages. However, a history of injuries in the preseason and the regression of the Giants team in general prevented me from placing him any higher on this list. Breaking into the top 5, in 5th, I have Errol Gulden. In 2025, Gulden missed half the year after sustaining a broken ankle in a preseason game which required surgery, leading him to only play 10 matches and with the lack of training hampering his scoring in those 10 games. This has led to his price dropping below 570k, making him the cheapest player on this list, and his obvious talent and historical averages place him 5th as an excellent bargain buy should his preseason go smoothly. Above Gulden, in 4th, is Nick Daicos, now a 2-time Brownlow medal runner-up. Nick Daicos has averaged over 115 in the last 3 seasons and has been a mainstay in previously our backlines, but now our midfield. However, the age demographic of that Collingwood team is dangerously close to collapsing, and that could negatively impact Daicos' scoring. On top of this, Daicos might be the most tagged player in the last 2 years, as teams look to suppress his impact. That is why I couldn't place him inside the top 3, but his outstanding natural abilities and, again, his natural progression as a player could place him in 4th. In 3rd, I have the king of Supercoach himself, Marcus Bontempelli. Marcus Bontempelli needs no introduction if you've played AFL SuperCoach before, but if you haven't, let me bring you up to speed on why, at least in my opinion, he's the king of Supercoach. In the last 3 seasons, the Bont has topped the rankings in terms of averages. In the last 4 seasons before that, he was in the top 10. He hasn't averaged below 100 over a whole season since his debut season in 2014, making him quite possibly the most reliable scorer in the last decade. However, with this reliability and high scoring comes a price, a big one. With the massive price of 706k, the Bont is the most expensive player in Supercoach this season, a price that is all but guaranteed to drop at some point in the season, meaning he can be picked up at a cheaper price later on. This leads me to place him in 3rd, and while personally I wouldn't recommend starting someone that expensive, it's not a bad decision if you do. In the penultimate spot on this list, I've got Matt Rowell. Fresh off a Brownlow medal, Matt Rowell shows no signs of stopping as that Gold Coast team prepares to make another run deep into finals. While the same issue as Anderson does exist with that crowded Gold Coast midfield, Rowell is the best of the bunch and will always be at the front of the line for CBAs. One possible downside is that he does have an early bye. However, that is partially offset by Gold Coast's easy run, playing multiple 2025's bottom 6 teams in the first 7 rounds. It is for these reasons I put him in 2nd, and I myself consider him a lock for the midfield, given his preseason goes smoothly. Another person I believe is a lock for the start of 2026, and someone who I think might even be better than Rowell, is first place player on this list, Zach Butters. It's a contract year for Zach Butters, with multiple Victorian clubs giving him huge incentives to put his best foot forward and show his worth. We saw it with Nas in 2025, where a $1 million contract was turned into a $2 million contract through an amazing second half of the season, and it's reasonable to assume it should happen again with Butters. Coming off a career-best Supercoach average of 121, he looks primed and ready to launch himself into a level of scoring we've seen from the likes of Bont and Gawn in the last couple of years, right around that 130 mark per game. To top it all off, Butters doesn't have any early bye, like pretty much every other player on this list, offsetting the high price of 654k. That's why I have him in first on this list as the best midfielder you can start in AFL SuperCoach for 2026, and why I've had him in almost every team I've made so far. So that's my list of the top 10 players you can start in your midfield in SuperCoach for 2026. And whilst obviously you can't start all of them, a good 3 or more will set you up for a good start to the season. I hope you've enjoyed the video and the series so far, and if you haven't, check out the other videos in this series ranking the top 10 players of each of the other positions in the playlist, on the end screen, and in the description. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy coaching.